Dimitri. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Pijanavallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Bhajanaranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajanaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa Purajikacharya Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Purajikacharya Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay, now I'm not sure. Are we starting on 13? Tapas, you there? If you are, we can't hear you.
Yes, Prabhu.
You there,
it
Tapas?
Is 13. Yes, Prabhu. It is 13.
13, right? Okay. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right, we can do better than that. We have to chant all together. Okay. Do I need a baton? Dimitri, you be the anchor, okay? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I felt like I was in South India there for a minute. Thank you. Okay. On this 12th day of July 2021 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in chapter 13 entitled Nature, the Enjoyer, and Consciousness. Text 13 at the bottom of 543. Gyayam Yatat Pravakshyami Yaj Gyatva Ashnute Anari Matparam Brahma Nasattan Nasar Uchyate Geyam yat tat pravakshyami yagyatvam ashnute anadimat param brahma nasattan nasad uchyate. Geyam yat tat pravakshyami. All right, so let's finish this. I'll read the translation. We'll go on to the next one. Okay. Geyam yat tat pravakshyami yagyatvam itamashnute anadimat param brahma nasattan nasaruchyate. You know it by heart? No. Look on with him. You can chant first. Geyam yat tat pravakshyami yagyatvam itamashnune anadimat param brahma nasattan nasaruchyate. Yeyam yat tat pravakshyami yagyatvam itamashnute anadimat param brahma nasattan nasaruchyate. Geyam yat tat pravakshyami yagyatvam itamashnute anadimat param brahma nasattan nasaruchyate. Geyam yat tat pravakshyami yagyatvam itamashnute anadimat param brahma nasattan nasaruchyate. All right, I'll read the synonyms. Geyam, the knowable, yat, which, tat, that, pravakshyami, I shall now explain, yat, which, gyatva, knowing, amritam, nectar, ashnute, one tastes, anadi, beginningless, matparam, subordinate to me, Brahma, spirit, na, neither, sat, cause, tat, that, na, not, asat, effect, uchite is said to be. Translation, I shall now explain the knowable, knowing which you will taste the eternal. Brahman, the spirit, beginningless and subordinate to me, lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. Text 14. Sarvatak panipadam tat Sarvatok Shishiro Mukham Sarvatak Shrutimaloke Sarvamavrityatishtati. Translation. Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads, and faces, and he has ears everywhere. In this way, the Supersoul exists, pervading everything. Purport. As the sun exists, diffusing its unlimited rays, so does the Supersoul, or Supreme Personality of Godhead. He exists in his all-pervading form, and in him exist all the individual living entities, beginning from the first great teacher, Brahma, down to the small ants. There are unlimited heads, legs, hands, and eyes, and unlimited living entities. All are existing in and on the Supersoul. Therefore, the Supersoul is all-pervading. The individual soul, however, cannot say that he has his hands, legs, and eyes everywhere. That is not possible. If he thinks that under ignorance he is not conscious that his hands and legs are diffused all over, but when he attains to proper knowledge he will come to that stage, his thinking is contradictory. This means that the individual soul, having become conditioned by material nature, is not supreme. The supreme is different from the individual soul. The Supreme Lord can extend his hand without limit. The individual soul cannot. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that if anyone offers him a flower or a fruit or a little water, he accepts it. If the Lord is a far distance away, how can he accept things? This is the omnipotence of the Lord. even though he is situated in his own abode, far, far away from earth, he can extend his hand to accept what anyone offers. That is his potency. In the Brahma Samhita 537, it is stated, Goloka eva nibasatya kilatma bhutaha. Although he is always engaged in pastimes in his transcendental planet, he is all-pervading. The individual soul cannot claim that he is all-pervading. Therefore, this verse describes the Supreme Soul, the personality of Godhead, not the individual soul. Om jnana timirandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, just to review again, the questions Arjuna asked, sixfold. He wanted to know what is the Prakriti, what is Purusha, what is nature, and who is the enjoyer. He wanted to know the Chaitra and the Chaitragya. The Chaitra being basically the body, the individual body. Each soul, embodied soul, has a specific body, specific species, and that body is his field of activity. So the Chaitra is the field, Chaitragya, Gya means knower, the knower of the field. And finally, he wanted to know what is knowledge and what is the goal of knowledge. So he's been through 5 of those subjects, and you may recall, we had quite a few days spent on the objects of knowledge, 5 verses from 8 through 12. And now we read the introductory verse again. I shall now explain the knowable, knowing which you will taste is eternal. So that knowable is spirit, Brahman, and it appears in different forms. We ourselves are Brahman, famous phrase, everyone learns first thing in the as soon as you join the ashram, after Namaham Vishnupadaya. Aham Brahmasmi. Do you know that one yet? You're going to learn it right now. It consists of 3 words, Aham, Brahma, and Asmi. Aham means I. Brahma means spirit, consciousness. And Asmi means am. So the syntax or word order is a little different in Sanskrit, but it means I am spirit, not matter. In other words, you're not that body, Prabhu. So get up and come to Mangalarti. Right? Huh? Yes, Jai. So that spirit appears in different forms. Now we ourselves are pure spirit, but we're minuscule, infinitesimal particles of spirit. Krishna explains in that 2nd chapter, so important, his first instructions. It's 20 verses, I think it's 20, or 30, 20 verses, I think, on the soul, just on the soul, its characteristics. And one of the main characteristics is that is never born and never dies. We're eternal. We have the same qualities of Krishna in minute degree. He's conscious, we're conscious, but he's conscious of everything. That's what the word omniscience means, omniscient. Omniscient means all-knowing, knowing everything. He says very distinctly in the 7th chapter, Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishani cha bhutani mam tu vedana kashchana. Veda is another way of saying know. Just like the Vedas are the things that are known, the pure knowledge. So Vedaham means I know. Samatitani, everything that's gone on in the past. You see? And Vedaham, Vartamanani Charjana, also what's going on right now. And Bhavishani Chabhutani, that's what's going to happen in the future also, I know. And it's not that he just knows something about the future and something about the present, something about the past, which we do. But he knows every single thing that's going on. This is one of the most amazing characteristics. To know every detail of every, molecule that's moved in the past, is moving now in the future. That's God. So you have these 3 basic qualities, which are there also in Western theology. Very much there in Krishna. Omniscient, which I just explained. Omnipresent, present everywhere. He's everywhere, and that's the Supersoul, is present everywhere. Therefore, he knows everything. He's present in all of our hearts. He's present in every atom, right? So therefore, if you're not present there, how can you know everything? So those two go together, omnipresent and omniscient. And then omnipotent. Sometimes we pronounce it omnipotent, but the real pronunciation is omnipotent, which means fully powerful, infinitely powerful, with all kinds of energies. Varieties of energies. We're one of them. Who can say the official designation of we ourselves? Which one of the energies are we? Starts with a T. Tatasta. Who said?
Margin.
Marginal. Yeah, that's the English version. And the Sanskrit is tatasta. Tata is the borderline, the margin. Perfect example down at the beach. You'll notice the beach, the tides go out and they come in, but there's always a point where they're covering and uncovering. There's a marginal energy. It's sometimes underwater, sometimes inland, you see? So what does that marginal mean? It means that because we're minute, although we're fully conscious, we can have a tendency and the ability to be covered over by Maya, illusion. Or we can be influenced under the control of Krishna's internal energy. So it's going to be one Maya or the other. Yoga Maya or Mahamaya. Yoga Maya brings us closer to Krishna. That's the internal energy. Personified as Radharani, you know. And it's interesting that Yoga Maya has a function of covering Krishna's divinity so that his intimate servants can forget that he's God and just have an intimate, loving relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like when Mother Yashoda looked into Krishna's mouth, right? He had been accused of eating dirt, which is very common. I bet there's billions of 3-year-olds who have eaten dirt at one point. And so he denied it. He said, no, my brother's telling stories about me. They're all lying. So she said, well, then open your mouth. I want to see. He said, okay. So he opens his mouth. But instead of seeing a little dirt, she sees all the planets, all the universes. She sees all creation. So as soon as Mother Yashoda sees that, she says, oh my God, I thought this little boy was my son. I thought he was Nanda's son, you know? And now I understand he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So as soon as she started thinking like that, Krishna covered her over again with Yoga Maya so that she could think of Krishna as a little boy. Because what he relishes more than awe and reverence and fear, really, is this intimate relationship with the mother, with his friends, with his, the gopis like that. And his dear servants also. But the best is the top three. The friendship, the parents, and the lovers. And they can't think he's God. Just like Arjun, he has a friendly relationship with Krishna. Now he knows he's God, but he's dealing with him as a friend, And then in the 11th chapter, which Arjun asked to see it, Krishna shows the universal form. Thousands of faces, fiercely, and devouring all of the enemy, crushing them, their heads between his teeth. And Arjun starts trembling in fear. This is not my friend, And so he asks, who are you anyway? And who knows the answer, the famous answer? 3 words, 3 syllables. That's English. The Sanskrit? Kalosmi. Yeah, English is fine. So we're good. Time I am. Right? Time I am. Time I am, devourer of the worlds. This is a nice little piece of history. I'm not that old, but during World War II, I heard, as many of you have read, if you take history in high school, there was a big effort to build a bomb, right? America had a big effort. It was called the Manhattan Project. You ever hear that? So the leader of that was, what's his name again? Starts with an O. Oppenheimer. Thank you. As long as I can remember Krishna's name at the end, all these other names. Robert Oppenheimer, brilliant scientist and everything. He had thousands of people he was controlling, So they finally built it, and they had to test it. Now I read that there was a chance, they thought, that it might blow up the whole world, So, well, we got to test it anyway, so cross your fingers, So they went to Alamogordo, New Mexico, not so far from here, actually. And, they're behind all these barriers and, things to protect their eyes, whatever. So it blew up, and, it was very impressive in a big mushroom cloud, classic thing. You must have seen pictures of it. but it didn't blow them up, obviously. So he was reminded, he was a student of Bhagavad Gita, and he thought of that verse. Kalosmi loka kshaya kapilura. It's in his memoirs, I've seen that. And I even saw, there's a picture, it was this magazine story. It showed next to his bed, where he's seeing, there's a little statue of Krishna. Yeah. Anyway, he got that close to Krishna anyway. So, Krishna has different aspects in which he displays different energies. I won't get into all of them. There's internal, marginal, and external energies. Those are the three categories. And the internal and the external have many subcategories. So that's, now we're speaking about the Supersoul. Krishna's going to speak about the Supersoul. Krishna's not different from the Supersoul. So he's really speaking about himself. But specifically, this idea that he has his hands and legs everywhere. Sometimes it's said that these are his hands and legs. The devotees know there's a name for Krishna which means master of the senses. Who knows? Rishikesha. Break it down. Rishika, Isha. Rishika is the senses. Isha is the master, is the controller. So he's the controller of our senses also. But we've denied that. We try to use our senses for sense gratification. So bhakti, concisely, means using the senses in the service of the master of the senses. There's a nice verse, Sarvo padi vinimuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchite. So rishikena means with your senses, rishikesha sevanam, performing seva or service for the rishika Isha, the master of the senses. You see how contrary that is to the usual false ego way of living. False ego means I'm this body, and it's mine, and I'm going to enjoy it, And there'll be some other bodies I get attached to, and I'll enjoy them, and they'll, but it's not enjoyment for Krishna, and that's why the soul suffers, because we're looking for eternal happiness in a place that's temporary. This is Prahlad's famous statement. Sadatasadamanya sudavar hidehinam sadasamudbhigna dhyama sadgrahat. Sadasamudbhigna means always disturbed. Who? The living entity, dehina. Dehina means the soul and the body. Sada sam udvigna dhyam. Dhyam is intelligence or consciousness. Is sada always sam udvigna. Sam is a prefix that means complete. We're very familiar with one of those words. Sankirtan. Sankirtan. Sankarshana. Sankarshan is the name for Balaram, because he's totally attracted from one womb to the other. From Yashoda's womb, from Devaki from Devaki to Rohini. Yeah, so that's unusual. So, samudvigna means completely disturbed. Always. Even when you're enjoying, there's in the back of your mind, oh my God, it's going to end soon. How do I keep it going? You can't keep it going, If you try to keep it going, then you really suffer. If you try to, hey, this tastes really good. Let me have another. We used to have, I didn't ever participate, but I heard about them and I saw one, a glove jamun eating contest in the Brahmacharya ashram. Should we try to reinstitute now? Okay. So, you got the 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds, you can eat as much as you want, you'll be sick for a day, but you'll recover, I wouldn't recover. So, but really you're not supposed to do that. You can do it at first, but you really have to cool it down, because atyahara priyasascha, if you eat too much, that's going to be an obstacle to your devotional service. So, but, the tongue is voracious and uncontrollable. And on the material side, there's the demons creating this processed food that's more tasty, and they engineer it so it's practically addictive. You go to Ralph's or any of these big supermarkets, and you see a whole line. I was just there. Actually I didn't buy anything. I just wanted to pass water, and it's the grand wash that I do is always out of order now. So I went in there, I got a little basket, and I put it, went down the Tostito aisle, and there's 100 different kind of snacks and everything, all engineered to, make you addicted. So I put one in there, I put a few cookies in there, went to the restroom, let it out there, came back, put it back on the shelves, and then left, just to be able to use the bathroom. But there's billions and billions of dollars. And what's the result? People become addicted, they're watching TV, they're eating a whole bag, and they become too obese and diseased. Gluttony is one of the sins, right, in the Bible. So that's addiction. You're trying to enjoy, and you try too much, and you suffer like anything. And that's in the Bhagavad Gita, also chapter 5. So let's go on with this. The qualities of this knowable, the final end of knowledge, the goal of knowledge. Not just knowledge for knowledge's sake, but there's a goal to it. Just like Prabhupada's name, right? It starts from the back. Vedanta. There's an end of knowledge. Not just you keep accumulating knowledge, material knowledge, and we're getting so smart we can manipulate this, No, there's a goal to it. And the end of knowledge is bhakti. Bhakti Vedanta. That's his name. Right? The goal of knowledge, the end of knowledge, Bhakti Vedanta. Meaning that once you achieve bhakti, you don't have to worry about knowledge. You just keep doing bhakti for eternity. It's not that the gopis and the cowherd men and the cowherd boys, they have, you don't read about schools and final exams, and going, there's none of that. They're already there. They're doing their work of herding the cows, but it's actually play. Right? They're playing with Krishna. And the gopis, they're doing their work, but they're thinking of Krishna. They're doing bhakti. And the whole atmosphere is all geared just so that they can express different varieties of loving exchange with Krishna. That's what we're meant to do for eternity. And then the material side is so much struggle just to maintain the body another day, another week, another year, so that we can enjoy a little bit. And you build these relationships that ultimately must come to an end. It's a tragedy. So Arjuna has asked, for our sake, okay, we need to know what's the body, who's the Purusha, what's the Prakriti, this energy, different energies. And ultimately we need to know the goal of all this knowledge. And so now we're hearing about that. And this is part of his glories, or the omnipotence and omnipresence and omniscience of the Supersoul. Yeah, question. Go ahead. Okay, we have just a minute. And go ahead, Tyler.
I have a question about the text that we had.
Yes, please.
And it's about the Supersoul too, so I'm glad we're continuing with that theme. Into the next
Yeah, sure.
So this, about the hands and the legs and his eyes and face, this reminded me of text 5 or mantra 5 of the Sri Upanishad. That it's always kind of confusing, these contradictions. The Supreme Lord walks and does not walk.
Yeah.
He is far away, but he is very near as well. He is within everything, and yet he is outside everything. So he has hands and legs, but he walks, but he doesn't walk. So there's a part of the purport that is kind of where I'm trying to pin down what I'm trying to understanding. It says, there are unlimited heads, legs, hands, and eyes, and unlimited living entities. All are existing in and on the Supersoul. Therefore, the Supersoul is all-pervading. So it's that in and on part that I find kind of interesting. It's not that the Supersoul isn't in me, I'm resting upon the Supersoul. Because the Supersoul can do these amazing things, but at the same time, how does he have hands and legs everywhere, but yet he walks and does not walk?
The verse goes, Apanipado Javana Grihita. That's the part you're talking about. Apanipado Javana Grihita. Not pani, hands, and pado, feet. Pada. He has no hands and feet. But Javana, he goes, he can run faster than anyone. I think that's part of the verse. Javana and Grihita, he can grasp everything like that. So it's the same idea. This is a symptom or a characteristic of the Upanishads. They'll often give these contradictory, just like the very invocation of the Isha Upanishad. Om Purnamadak Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. He's complete, Purna. And even though a complete unit's coming out from him, he stays complete. 1 minus 1 equals 1 in the spiritual world. 1 plus 1 equals 1. He never increases, never decreases. So these are like koans. The koans, the famous koans. One hand clapping is the most famous. The idea is that these Upanishadic statements are meant to expand our conception of what's possible, because we're bound up by our material understanding. If I can walk, it's silly to say I can't walk, so he doesn't walk like we walk. He doesn't eat like we eat. Another amazing one is Angana Yasa Sakalendri Vatimanti, that all his senses perform all the functions of all the other senses. When we offer food or boga on the altar, right, with devotion, then we're having faith that he eats it. He promises that he eats it in the 9th chapter. Pattam pushpam palam toyam yomai bhakti apriyachati tadaham bhakti param ashnami prayata. It literally says I eat. When it's offered with love and devotion, then he eats. Otherwise, the nicest preparation, he won't touch it. So how does he eat? It's still there. Yeah, by looking, by seeing. He's eating by seeing. And he understands completely the mood of the offer and the cooker and everything, and he's enjoying the love that it's offered with, you know. So the idea is that we're living in and on the Supersoul. So the one way of understanding it is that the Supersoul is present in every atom, right? He's present in our hearts. He's present outside in every atom. So where is he not? We're existing, we're minute. So in that sense, we're inside. We're inside. Just like one of the things it says about the Mahavishnu. He's all part of the same tattva. All of these different expansions. Supersoul is an expansion of Chirodakshai Vishnu. Chira means kir, milk. And Udaka is ocean. He's lying in the ocean of milk. Where? On Dhruvaloka. There's a white island there, and there's a manifestation of Vishnu lying there. And from there, he's expanding as Supersoul and everywhere. But Daksha Vishnu is himself an expansion of Daksha Vishnu, who's an expansion of Mahavishnu, who's an expansion of Sankarshan. You'll go all the way back to Krishna. So they're the same tattva in slightly different forms to perform a certain function. So we're living within the Supersoul because he's everywhere, and his energies are everywhere. At the same time, the Supersoul is living within us. He's there within the heart. Individually, he's watching all of us, giving us our intelligence to do so many things, as he says right here. So he's within and without. And in that sense, we can feel his presence everywhere. When we understand the Bhagavad Gita and we study it and we try to live it and see the world through the eyes of the Shastra, just like, earth, water, fire, air, ether. Oh, well, yeah. You can point to anything here and say, this is one of those things. There's the fire, plenty of earth around, there's some water over there, I hope it's still in the pot. And, there's liquids, gases everywhere. Realization, earth, water, fire, air, is all the gases. This is what our world consists of. And then it always leads to the point of, well, where did it come from? And Krishna, these are my energies. We're within Krishna right now. That's why he says in the same chapter, you see the light of the sun. Don't just see this light of the sun. Think it's me. Rasoham apsakun prabhasmi shashi surya. Why is the moon called the shashi? Do you know? Anyone know? Yeah, because they see a rabbit up there. Sometimes we see a deer. Yeah. So shashi is a word for rabbit. So it's a short for moon also. And surya is of course the sun. So when do we not see the sunrise? Or the sunshine? It's always around, one of these energies. So when we experience anything in this world, we should connect it to Krishna. The whole idea is that if we train our consciousness, we'll remember Krishna always. And that's really a basic goal of every Krishna Bhakta. Remembering Krishna always is the Holy Grail. I mean, everything flows from that, And it helps because we're living in the material world, so we start where we're at. I'm breathing air. That air is Krishna's energy. I'm smelling fragrance. But the real key to making it happen is using everything we can in the service of Krishna. That's what this temple is all about. We have all these liquids, the solids, the building itself, it's all made of this energy. But it's specifically geared to be used in Krishna's service. And that's how, this temple especially will remind you of Krishna. You walk in, there's the pictures of Krishna, the name of Krishna vibrating. Here's these people dressed funny. They're all like monks. What are you, a Buddhist? No, I'm a Krishna Bhakta. Oh, okay, then remind you of Krishna. You see? In other words, everything is designed that way. And it's science. It's Narada Pancharatra. It's according to rules and regulations. So that's what the Bhagavad Gita is supposed to bring us to. What does it mean to surrender to Krishna? It means to surrender your mind, your words, your body, your activities, everything. all the activities. Link it up. Find how to link it up. Beginning with sound. Beginning with the sound. Because we developed this false ego over many, many births. And there's going to be part of us going to fight this, you know. But the actual perfection is to marshal all of our energies and whatever we can bring to help, you know. And we have so many advantages. The big advantage is the mantra. If we just chant and hear, and I was just thinking, the most important, because I chant a couple of rounds before I come over, doing my walk. I do an evening walk, you know. That's why I was late. I was a little late. So as I was chanting, I was saying, you know, the most important part of chanting is hearing. If you're chanting without hearing, we've all experienced the mind may be elsewhere, you know, you haven't really, you know, chanted. But the hearing with great attention is like the door that opens up the power of the mantra. So that we have at our disposal. We can direct our attention. The whole thing is paying attention. So let's go on. Oh wait, we have a question from Dhanavari?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hi, Bo.
Thank you so much. My question is, you just mentioned that the topmost way to pray is either friendship, sakha, or vatsalya, motherly, and lover. So, for ourselves, do we need special qualification to love Krishna as vatsalya bhav, or as a sakha, or for the beginning we have to do as a Bhagavan, or how does that, would you talk about it?
In the beginning we have to, yes, definitely worship as Bhagavan. Prabhupada, I was just reading about how, you know, those letters are actually very illuminating. Prabhupada's letters did so much management through the letters. And the question was, well, how are we worshipping Radha and Krishna? You know, we see Radha and Krishna deities on the altar. Many of the temples, even in Prabhupada's time, they had Radha Krishna deities, of course. And how are we supposed to think of them in our neophyte stage? So Prabhupada, actually, in the neophyte phase, we welcome them, we worship them in the mood of awe and reverence, as Lakshmi Narayan, you know, and the imperative is that idea of surrender, to really feel oneself dependent and helpless without the Lord's mercy and His protection, and to pray, make the Hare Krishna mantra into a prayer. Prabhupada said it's a call, Krishna, please engage me in your service. You know, Lord Chaitanya is teaching us this Shikshastika is so essential. What not to pray for? Don't pray for anything material. Nadanang, najanang, nasundarim, kavitam. You know, he covers so many things. A beautiful spouse, wealth, followers, fame, great education. Kavitam could be education. Even liberation. Now, it's interesting about the liberation because even here in this chapter, one of the elements of knowledge is janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha doshana darshana. To always see the evils, the evil of birth, old age, disease, and death. Whatever you try to achieve on the material side is bound by those things. Eventually you're going to face old age and disease and death. And so what's the point of struggling so hard to achieve something that you think is permanent here? It's just a waste of time. If there's something eternal. In other words, we have to be convinced, have faith in the whole alternative life of the spiritual world, which we can exist right here. It's not bound by time and space. We can be in the spiritual world right now, as we saw with Srila Prabhupada. You know, he was always on this ecstatic platform, and so tolerant of all of the vicissitudes and changes that happen in the material world, because he was fixed in transcendence. So it's an entirely different way of seeing things. But until we reach that point, we need to have that humble attitude toward the deity and toward Krishna as Bhagavan, and understand He's the eternal master and my protector, and you know. But by the process of bhakti, one and hearing the Shastra, hearing the Krishna book, hearing the 10th canto, hearing the pastimes of Krishna, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, then one is meant to gradually become more and more purified, and that means more and more attracted to Krishna and to serving Krishna. not as a duty, but as a pleasure, something you really want to do. Oh, it's time to get up. Oh yeah, I want to go see the deities. I wonder what Radha and Girihari are going to wear this morning. You know, what begins as a duty ends as a something that you really love to do, spontaneous. So at that stage, then by hearing, one becomes more attracted to one of those main rasas, as a friend, as a parent, as a lover of Krishna. That's the whole idea. But you can't rush it. If you try to rush it, then you get into deep water. So just continue, and don't be afraid to or we should read Krishna book daily if possible. We used to have, before taking rest, we'd read Krishna book. Hopefully, dream of Krishna. It's possible. And in that way, by progressive purification, our original Swarup becomes more evident to us. Okay? That's the idea. Dhanabai.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
All right.
Hare Krishna.
Vijay Krishna, welcome.
Thank you very much, Dravida Prabhu. My obeisances. I have a question.
I'm sure you do. Go ahead. Please.
Prabhu, the quote from the purport is as follows. Quote, in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that if anyone offers him a flower or a fruit or a little water, he accepts it. If the Lord is a far distance away, how can he accept things? This is the omnipotence of the Lord. Even though he is situated in his own abode, far away from earth, he can extend his hand to accept what anyone offers. That is his potency, end quote. So, Prabhu, if I may, some atheists say that, okay, God is as potent as able to extend his hand to accept what anyone offers, but the fact is that I cannot see him doing that. And because I cannot see him doing that, I don't believe that he exists. So my question is, any comment, please?
Yeah, well, the atheists, are in a position where they've convinced themselves by hanging out with other atheists and reading atheist book and violating the laws of God from many births, that he doesn't exist. And it's very uncomfortable for them to think that he exists, because their whole life is built upon exploiting material nature, exploiting others. I read an interesting account how there's some really famous atheists who get on YouTube and they get on TV and they've written so many books. I forget their names. I wouldn't, if I did remember them, I wouldn't utter them anyway in this august meeting. But so many of them have shown, because they're famous, therefore they get money, and they can more easily exercise their demoniac nature. And so some of them have, cheated on their wives. Some of them have done this. In other words, they're not good guys. There's no real reason to be moral if there's no God, except fear of punishment. But once you get enough influence and power, the atheists, have we seen, the demons, they tend to get puffed up with their power and they get cut down. So the point is that they'll never agree. You remember Prahlad's statement? Matyuna Krishna Padatak Svatova Mito Bipadeta Grihavatanam Adanta Gobi Vishatam Tamisram Punak Punashcharvita Charvananam. If one is completely determined to try to enjoy material life, then they are kind of immune, Even if they hear Hare Krishna, they get invited, somehow they wander into a temple, they'll be in the corner over there. You're right, They're not open. They're not receptive. There's no way of getting through that barrier, because they've convinced themselves it's all a myth, you guys. And the Mayavadis are like that too. They see all this deity worship and this prasadam, as just it's an illusion. You guys, you've deluded yourselves. You know, they see. It's the old thing of where what is night for the awakened is daytime for the atheist. So they see through the eyes of their false ego and their demonic vision. And so there's no way of getting through there so that they'll believe in Krishna. And that's their problem. Now, as devotees, practicing, you know, the point at which you really enter into the house of bhakti is where you attain some faith that Krishna exists or could exist. You know, and mostly it comes from association with the greatly faithful. Now, as devotees, and we're familiar with the parampara, right? So now we're saying, oh, that doesn't sound possible. You know, someone's living up there 1,000,000 miles away, and he's reaching out and he's eating your glubjamin. You guys are deluding yourselves, you know. But now we're saying, well, wait a minute. You know, here's Srila Prabhupada, and we know his life, his exalted life, and his knowledge. You know, it's not just him. You got Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and you got Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and you got all this parampara, and you got Ramanuja, and you got Jiva Goswami, you know, the greatest philosopher in the world. All of them are completely deluded. All of them are trying to pull something over our eyes. Why? They were already millionaires and multi-millionaires, Raghunath Das and Jiva Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. What's in it for them? To give it all up and live under a tree, you know, and walk around in Kopens? I mean, does that make much sense? So why would they still be running this scam? That you know, in other words, it doesn't make any sense. The only thing that does make sense is that it's true that they really did experience happiness way beyond what they could, you know, could buy with all the money that they had. They had a whole boatload of gold, you know, cashed out, and ran off to Vrindavan after meeting Lord Chaitanya, and just lived as simply as possible. So what I'm saying is that our faith is based on some direct experience, because by chanting and hearing and being in the devotional atmosphere, you inevitably feel something, you know, that you didn't feel before. There's a reality to it. It worked when Prabhupada came and was chanting with that little bongo drum, you know, and in 26nd Avenue and the park. And people were dancing and chanting, oh, this is far out, you know, better than pot, you know. There's some kind of something going on. and it works today, and it'll work forever, because it's a holy name, it's eternal. So that is the faith, and that seed of bhakti that's planted. If you water it properly with proper hearing and chanting, then the faith becomes deeper, because you get more and more experience, and more you see the bankruptcy of trying to beat these senses and enjoy. Just living in the world. Can't we see, you know, these pathetic celebrities, celebrity culture? You know, I mean, I've been around so long. I've seen people now, they're in the late 80s, you know, somehow they're keeping everything together. But where's all that enjoyment? You know, they're not blissful. You can see that. There's celebrity. There's one famous actress, like Greta Garbo. I mean, that's a famous name, right? I think she was a famous actress in the 30s and 40s, you know. And then she got a little bit too old, and she didn't want to be seen anymore. She would walk around New York with these big hats so no one could see her, because she didn't have that, you know, youthful glow anymore. It's tragic when you think about it. What a waste of human life. But here you have devotees, you know, old or young, you know, and yeah, old age comes, you know, eventually. But it's a different experience. It's a different. You can see, you know, that these great devotees, even us, what to speak of, you know, wonderful towering devotees like Prabhupada and the others, they're not experiencing the same thing. Prabhupada was 70, 80. He was ecstatic. The movement was growing. He had all these temples going on. He was doing what he was asked to do by his guru. And Lord Chaitanya was pleased, and the name was resounding all over the world. So we can be part of that. So the idea is that this statement here, the Supreme Lord can extend his hand without limit, the individual soul cannot. Well, if the Supreme Lord is omnipotent and omnipresent, right, then why can't he? You know? In other words, the limits that we set with our own material mind is like the old logic of the, what's it called? Mandakupa or something? The frog in the well. The very illustrative frog in the well logic. We're always measuring things according to what we know. So imagine a little well here on Grand Avenue. And in that well, there's some frogs. And they've been there a long time. There's an elder frog who knows everything about that well, Professor Frog. But one day, a particularly athletic frog jumped out of the well, got out of the well, and he made his way down to the beach. And he looked at the ocean. Whoa, I got to go back to the professor and tell him about this new discovery. So he jumps back and he gets back in the well and he says, whoa, I just saw a body of water that was way bigger than this well. Oh, way bigger than the well? Was it 10 times as big? Was it 20 times as big? So no, you don't understand. It's like trillions of times as big. What do you mean? I don't believe you. I never experienced anything like that. It's not in any of our books. In other words, we're seeing everything through our blinders and trying to measure it according to that. But Krishna is infinite. He can do whatever he wants. And part of what he wants is that he sees the mood, Bhavagradi Janardana, of the devotee. And he sees, they prepared this little substance for me? Okay, I'm going to eat it because it's prepared with love. And he tastes the love. That's what he's tasting. Now, it doesn't mean that we can just offer any old thing to Krishna. After a few days, we should learn how to prepare chapatis and learn how to prepare nice rice. That's part of the love. If you just keep, offering anything, any old thing, then that shows you're not doing it with love. But in the first time, when you're first sincerely trying to do it, that's... So that's the best I can do, and we really have to end now. By Vijay Krishna.
Yes, Dravida Prabhu, wonderful answer to my question again. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. All glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. All right, so we'll continue tomorrow with what?